I'm just going to wait a second. Okay, I guess we're live. Hello, Living Network family. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday, whatever that may be. Mine was pretty mellow. I just baked a few cookies, cooked a few things, and we stayed home, and it was nice. So my name is Karen Squillante, and I invite you to come into Nature's Alchemy, where we explore natural healing with crystals, plants, and herbalism, essential oils, and the many ways that Mother Earth provides for our healing and well-being. So today, my lesson or my presentation is a little bit different than what I've been bringing you. I would like to talk about empaths. Now, I'm an empath, and I belong to several empathic social media groups. And I've noticed lately that most of their posts center around overwhelming feelings, being in abusive or bad relationships, and no understanding of boundaries or how to protect yourself from the onslaught of energy around you. And that's really important because in order to take care of the overwhelm, we have to know how to set boundaries. So a lot of my discussion today is going to talk about that. Now, we are special people because we feel everything and we feel it to our core. Okay, so when people say, oh, you're overreacting, you're this, you're that. No, I'm just an empath. So you don't have to feel bad that your feelings are intense, because they're going to be. So we feel our own emotions and those around us. We're natural healers and teachers, and we love to use our gifts to help others. The problem comes when we don't understand the difference between helping those who want our help and those who need our help. Now, there are a lot of needy people around out there. It's very easy to get caught up in our own need to help everyone we see that needs our help. Okay, when we offer to assist others that need us but not necessarily want us, most people will accept help, and there are reasons for that. So what happens is you offer help to somebody who's really needy. Now, they may not want your help, but they may take it anyway, and I'm going to tell you a couple of reasons why. A lot of times it's because the person is playing the victim and needs to be rescued because they don't want to accept they have created the life that they see for themselves. It's really important to help these people see that their life is their responsibility and no one is going to change it for them. And that's very hard to do when you're living as a victim, because victims think, oh, everything is done to me. Life does it to me. That's really not the case, because you get what you focus on. So if you're focusing on being a victim, you're going to get stuff that's going to prove to yourself that you are. So those are some people that will take advantage of you no matter what. Now, another reason for a person will accept help is because they want to control others and manipulate them into doing it their way. Now, these people are a different breed. These people have either narcissistic tendencies or are full-blown narcissists. Now, I know you've heard that term being thrown around like crazy. There is a legend about Narcissus where he went up to the edge of a pool, and he saw his reflection, and he fell in love with his reflection, and he couldn't move because he didn't want to lose the connection to his reflection. So a narcissist is wrapped up in their own self, and that's all that they really can think about. So unfortunately, these people are taker, and they don't give. All right. And I'm sure that every empath that's listening to this right now or later at the recording has met or been in a relationship with somebody like that. Okay. Now, these narcissists or people like this tend to look for those who are soft-hearted and caring, and that's, most empaths are, because, we love help and we love to heal and we love to teach. So we're always in that mode, and that's what makes us feel fulfilled. Unfortunately, as empaths, we have to learn how to create boundaries. We have to learn how to say no, okay? And I'll get to that in a little bit. All right. Now, narcissists will test the waters by telling you you want to hear, especially early in the relationship, like sweeping you off your feet, or, telling you how beautiful you are and that you're the only woman for or only man for you, because women can be narcissists also. Okay. Um, and they are very charming and attentive and caring, at least for a few months, until they think they have control in the relationship. And if an empath isn't mindful at this stage, it can develop into an abusive relationship, which can take many forms. I won't get into the specifics and details, but I'm sure you've all had experiences similar to this. Okay. Now, an empath can protect themselves by not ignoring the red flags and uneasiness in your gut and following your intuition. Now, yeah, he may be good looking, charming, sweet, but only after a few months, only after a few months into a relationship, this behavior is kind of inappropriate because it's really too soon. These are the kind of things that you do in a committed relationship, not in one that's only 2 or 3 months old, because you really don't know that person. You can't. There's no way that you can know that person in 2 or 3 months. So they present their best foot forward, and that happens. So you fall for the, for lack of a better word, bullshit. Okay. Now, relationships take time, and a person who rushes you into one has their own agenda. If it doesn't feel right, it isn't. So if the red flag goes up, or the gut feeling, or the uneasiness in your chest, or something tells you something's not right, listen to it. That's your higher self, your guides, the universe saying there's something not right here. You need to go. Move on. Okay. And you really, because I'll tell you what, if you look back on all your relationships that have gone sour, you will remember a point that you came to that you said, it doesn't feel right. Something's not right. But oh, he's so handsome. Oh, he's so this, he's so that, he's so wonderful. I can overlook that, or I can change him. No, you can't. All right. A narcissist does not change. Narcissists are very broken people, right? A lot of people say, oh, we're not broken. Well, they are. Okay. They suffer a lot of severe trauma in their life. They've gotten to the point where if you hurt them, they'll hurt you, or they'll do it first, because that's how toxic they are. They want to hurt you, because that's the only way that they get relief from feeling how toxic they are. See, they grew up with people telling them they're no good, they're not worthy, but in a very, very intense way, so that these people almost cannot come back from it unless they have intense therapy. So that's why you need to leave them alone, because you, as an empath, are probably not trained to deal with somebody like that. And all you're going to get is heartache, abuse, hurt, and in a bad relationship. And you all know what I'm talking about. Okay. Now, everyone knows that a bad relationship is not worth the pain, abuse, and the heartache. Now, this is not to say that some relationships aren't the exception. Now, I personally know 1 or 2 people whose relationships started out intensely, but that is not the rule. Okay, most of the people I know that had that happen, some of them I remember, because they come on really hot and heavy, and they burn and fizzle out. Okay, so the most important thing to learn when you're an empath is you really have to learn how to set boundaries with people. Okay, one of the most powerful words in our language is no. We say yes more than we say no because we as empaths need to be needed. How many times have you said yes only to wish you had said no and then regret it later? Join the club. Here I am. I've done that many times. Not lately, but yes, in my lifetime. Oh, yes, I have. Saying no is a challenge. Okay, but all the times you wish you had said no, and then life got really complicated. You said sure, I'll do it, or yes, I will, or whatever you agree to, and then you wish you had never said it because it completely disrupts your life, only to help this other person who doesn't appreciate it to begin with. Okay, so there's a technique, and this is a very easy one. Well, it's simple. Okay, it's not easy because it's something you really have to practice. And the first couple times you do this, you're probably not going to get it right because of the fear that you have of not pleasing people. But if you can get to the point where you understand that pleasing yourself and taking care of yourself and doing self-care is not selfish, okay? Self-care is taking care of you first. If you have nothing in you to give, how are you going to help other people? You're just an empty empath. You have a shell, and that's about it. And you might have a few little pieces of energy here and there, but for the most part, you don't have nearly the power that you would if you had taken your power back. So this is a technique that I call the broken record. Now, some of you remember vinyl records. They were made back in the 60s and 70s, and sometimes they would crack. And they would get little hairline cracks in them. And no matter, like, if you sat on one or that kind of stuff. So no matter how smooth you think you have it back together again, it still skips. So when you put the needle down on the record, when you get to that point, it'll go bloop and it'll skip back to the previous line of the music. Okay, and a broken record just plays the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Okay, so are you getting the message of why I'm calling this the broken record? Is because you need to become a broken record. So this is what happens. So let's say one of your friends, okay, acquaintances, your boyfriend, whoever, somebody, a narcissistic person or somebody who has those tendencies or likes to manipulate you, comes to you and asks you to do something. And you don't really want to do it. You just don't. And you don't have to give reasons. You just don't have to want to do it. All right. So, what you want to do is when they come up to you and they ask you or put in a request in, the first thing you want to say is, let me think about it. Okay. You want to tell them, let me think about it. Now, the first time that happens to them when they're not used to being over manipulated by you is they're going to get all upset. And they'll say something like, well, I really need you to do this for me now. Well, let me think about it. Well, it's really important that you do this for me. I mean, they start getting really upset. You can see it. They get agitated. Well, let me think about it. Okay. And if they're not already agitated, they will be. And this is where you need to hold your ground. Okay, remember what the alternative is if you comply. You won't like yourself if you give in. And this is very challenging at first because people who know in the past that they can manipulate you and can't do it in this moment will get very upset. I mean, be ready for insults, name calling, bullying, all that kind of stuff. And then all you have to do one more time is say, let me think about it. By this time, they're probably going ballistic, but that's okay because this is a lesson they must learn. is that you have set the boundary that you are not willing to be manipulated into doing something that you don't want to do. Okay, let me say that again. They're all ballistic because they're trying to manipulate you into doing something that you don't want to do. Okay, so when they try to bully you, recognize what that is, and where it's coming from. They don't have your best interests at heart. They're trying to bully you. Okay? So what you have to do then is if you if they won't let you think about it, you say, if I can't think about it, then the answer has to be no. And then don't apologize. All right? Do not apologize for your desires. Okay? Who cares if they get upset? It's not your problem. All right? You're not there to fix all of their problems. That's why they come to you, because when they get in trouble, they can rely on you to help them get out of it. Well, you know what? They need to stand on their own 2 feet, like everybody else. Okay? We stand on our feet and everybody else's. All right? So in order to get rid of all those other people's feet, we need to take care of ourselves. So once you say, if I can't think about it, then the answer has to be no. Then remove yourself from the situation if at all possible. Hang up the phone, leave the cafe, leave their place, etc. Just get out of there. All right? If they follow you, just keep going, walk away. And that's it. And they'll understand you mean business. All right? And that they can't get over on you anymore. And I'll tell you what, that is incredibly empowering, to be able to say no to somebody when you don't want to do something. And it's your life. You don't have to comply with anyone's wishes, especially not somebody who is manipulative and does not have your best interests at heart. Now, if it's somebody, a significant other, and you have a wonderful relationship with them, and or to your kids, that you have good relationships, not codependent relationships. Okay, we'll talk about that in just a moment. Okay, codependency. What is codependency? Codependency is when you depend on other people to feel good. Okay, that's what codependency is all about. So when you rely on another person to make your life fulfilled, if they go away or they leave or something happens and they can't hold it up anymore, then guess what happens to you? You kind of crumple in a corner because you don't know how to stand on your own 2 feet. Okay? So remember, take note of who these people are that don't really care about you and want to push you into doing something you don't want to do. And it's really important for you to look at and work on you, or you will find breaking this cycle to be extremely difficult. Okay, it may be time to move on to people that really care about you and not what you can do for them. Giving in and saying yes fills your codependent need to be needed. And you will always regret it in some way. Okay. Now, some crystals that you can keep with you, all right, for helping you with these issues. I have listed several of them. Okay. But I want to say something about crystals, because I've mentioned before that, well, let me talk to you about the crystals first, and then I will tell you what I want to talk to you about them. Okay, so these are some crystals. Now, you can't just stick it in your pocket and think that your crystals are going to fix everything. They're not going to fix your life. What they're going to do is they're going to give you the energy that you need to be able to do it. And they're going to help you. They're allies. Okay, so you meditate with them, you keep them with you. You can make a gem water and, drink that during the day. Now, I don't know if you remember my last class, I talked about gem waters. That was published on the 19th of December. So if you want to go back and look for it, that's a really good class to teach you how to make gem waters from any crystal, toxic or not. So you might want to make one of those, and that will help because you can ingest the energy of the crystal. And that does help you because that empowers you. Okay, so one of the, I'll list them and then I'll go through them. Okay, black obsidian, excuse me, snowflake obsidian, golden tiger's eye, yellow jasper, rose quartz, rhodonite, and lepidolite. Oh, and also chevron amethyst. It's also called dogtooth amethyst, but I know it as chevron amethyst. Okay. So black obsidian. Now, this crystal is not for the faint of heart. Okay. If you're interested in moving through your codependency and moving through your stuff so that you don't attract these kind of relationships anymore, then obsidian's a really good one to work with. However, you need to be ready because obsidian pushes you to face up to your true self. And it takes you deep into your subconscious mind and magnifies negative energies so that they can be fully experienced and released. So that means all that stuff that you got buried back in there, not going to stay buried for long if you use an obsidian. Now, you may want to ask it to take its time and not give it to you all at once. Okay, I yelled at my spirit guides one time because they did that, because they were pushing me to do it all at once. And I yelled at them, "Stop it! You're going to make me go insane!" I'm yelling at them and screaming at them, and they laughed at me, but they backed off. Okay, so you may want to talk to your obsidian and say, "Okay, give me one major one at a time. Give me the one I need to deal with first, all right, and or the one that's the most important for me to deal with." Let's put it that way. Okay, so if you're going to do any deep work with this crystal, it's better to have a facilitator for guidance unless you're experienced or trained. So if you're trained in modalities that help you move through emotional trauma, that's perfect. If you know somebody who's trained in that, that's wonderful. I'm going to talk a little bit after class or after this class is over about opening up a group for empaths, and I think that would be really helpful. But I got to clear it with a few people first. But I thought it was something interesting, something different to do. Okay. So black obsidian. Now the next one is snowflake obsidian. Now snowflake obsidian is stone of purity. It provides balance for mind, body, and spirit. It makes you receptive before bringing your attention to ingrained patterns of behavior, and then gently releases the blockages. Okay, so in other words, it gets you ready. Obsidian just goes, here you go. Here's an issue, hits you upside the head. That's what obsidian does, black obsidian. Snowflake obsidian goes, hey, you ready? Hello, it's coming soon. Get ready, here it comes. Okay, and it will show you whatever you need to change the ingrained patterns of behavior and then releasing those emotional blockages. So isolation and loneliness become empowering with its assistance, because sometimes this is called shadow work. Okay, and shadow work, sometimes you got to do it by yourself and sometimes you need to do it with somebody to help you through it. But in any case, it's not a big, it really isn't a group facilitating kind of thing. It's more like an individual, because we all have different issues that need to be dealt with. Okay. So this helps you on an individual level. Okay, let's see. Golden tiger's eye. That's another really good one for working through your stuff. It's a solar plexus chakra stone. It deals with issues of self-worth, self-criticism, blocked creativity. It helps to facilitate courage, creating personal boundaries. It supports addictive personalities to make positive change. So while you're going through all of this stuff that you're purging, or you're getting rid of the emotional baggage that you've been carrying around, Tiger's Eye helps you, give you the courage and the fortitude to be able to do that. Okay? It gives you that feeling of, I can do this. I got this. I got this. I can definitely do this. It might be hard. It might be challenging. It might be difficult. Probably going to cry several thousand times, and that's okay. All right. That's a release in itself. But it helps you to understand that you can do it. And that's the best thing about Tiger's Eye. It empowers you and encourages you. Another stone that's really good for working through this stuff is yellow jasper. I love yellow jasper. It's just I just love holding it. It just feels so good. It's an excellent protector during spiritual work and physical travel too. So if you're going somewhere, traveling in your car, or you're taking a plane ride, or well, maybe not this day and age, but take a piece of yellow jasper, put it in your glove box, or put it in your purse or your pocket or whatever, and take it with you on your journey, because it does protect you. It assists you on your earth journey. It also keeps you on your life path. So sometimes we get to unsure because when things come up and they kind of blow us off course a little bit, and it takes a lot of focus to be able to blow ourselves back on course. So this helps us to recognize our life path and get back on track. Now, it also clears away any outward emotions, and it channels positive energy, making you feel physically better. So it makes you feel good in the body as well as emotionally. And it's also a solar plexus stone. Of course, I said that earlier. And it's really, really good for building self-esteem, like Tiger's Eye. Okay. I think Tiger's Eye is a little more powerful, but yellow jasper really works great. So you might want to try some of that if you don't have any Tiger's Eye. Okay, rose quartz. That's another one. The stone of unconditional love and peace. And it's the most important for healing the heart and the heart chakra. It actually heals the heart itself, not just the energetic bodies around it. All right. If your heart needs healing, it will help to do that, especially if you put it in with a piece of selenite. That's what I do every night. Both my parents had heart issues, and sometimes they get like racing heart at nighttime or something. So I have a mojo bag that I keep several pieces of rose quartz and several pieces of selenite in there, and I sleep with that every night. And sometimes my heart will race, and then it will just calm it right down. So that really works for me. Okay, excuse me a second. Okay. Let me see. What else can I say about that? It attracts romantic love. It supports an existing partnership, restoring trust and harmony. Now, that's if your relationship is in a good way. Okay, if you're in one of those codependent relationships, the rose quartz isn't going to help you. Okay, rose quartz is going to help you see that you need to love yourself first. Okay, loving yourself first is more important than loving everybody else around you and leaving yourself empty. Right? That's what you need to do, is you need to take care of yourself first, and you have to fill up your gas tank first. This way you can go around, take your gas nozzle and plug it into whoever needs, well, you don't want to plug it into anybody, but you know what I'm talking about. Give it to who needs you and who wants your help. Okay? Not just needs your help, somebody who wants your help. Okay. Let's see. Oh, it also soothes internal pain. It heals deprivation and opens the heart to being receptive again. So this is a really good stone after maybe a bad breakup, or where you're wanting to feel better about yourself after you've been taken advantage of. One of your friends showed their true colors and you felt betrayed, or you feel, that they hurt you in some way. Rose quartz is a really good one to have. In fact, you could just leave it right on your chest when you go to sleep. Well, that's what I do anyway in my mojo bag. But you can wear a piece of rose quartz constantly. You don't need to worry about um, if it's going to hurt you or not. Now, you might want to retune it every once in a while, and that's another lesson. But rose quartz is something that you can wear all the time. Okay, let's see. Rhodonite. That's another interesting one. A lot of people don't know much about rhodonite because everybody focuses on rose quartz. Okay, so to me, rhodonite is just as good, if not better, than rose quartz, and there's a few reasons why. See, rhodonite, and I'll spell it for you: RHO, D as in David, ONITE. It bounces the emotion and it nurtures love and encourages love of people. So it encourages that compassion, and it stimulates and heals the heart. It grounds energy and bounces your energies, your yin yang, or however you want to call it. It also encourages achieving your highest potential. All right, so it helps you to stay on your life path and helps you to focus on that. It has a strong resonance with forgiveness, and it helps with reconciliation after long-term pain and abuse, and it's beneficial in emotional self-destruction and codependency. So this is even better to have when you're going through that stuff than rose quartz. So I would, and it's beautiful. There's a lot of different levels of quality of rhodonite. Okay, you can get the rhodonite that has a little bit of pink and mostly black matrix. Then you have some that has a lot of pink and a little bit of black matrix. And then you have some that's all pink with no black matrix. So the ones that the more pink it has, the higher quality. But it doesn't matter because it's still rhodonite. So if you can only afford the less expensive one, go for it, because it's a beautiful stone. It feels so good when you hold it and you hold it up to your chest. It just has that comfort like an old grandma. So definitely get yourself a piece of rhodonite. Let me see. It promotes unselfish self-love and forgiveness, and it takes taking back projections that blame a partner for what is really inside yourself. Okay, so a lot of times what happens if we're hurt, and narcissists do this all the time, but it's not that they can't help it. It's just that they're so broken and so hurt that they can't go a day without hurting somebody, because that's the only way that makes them feel better, is when they hurt others. Okay, they identify with the perpetrator. That's how bad it is. So that's why you start, if you think you're even getting close into a relationship with a narcissist, run. Turn around and run the other way. All right, it's not worth trying to fix them. You cannot fix them. And I'm going to read to you a meme in a little bit about what I found on the internet. Okay. And that talks all about that. So give me a moment and I'll get there. Okay, lepidolite, that's the last stone. No, actually, that's the next last stone. Lepidolite. Lepidolite is really good for anxiety. Okay, so if you're having a lot of anxiety around this relationship, or something doesn't feel right, and you're starting to do this, lepidolite has lithium in it. And so lithium they give to people who have like borderline personality or bipolar, because it calms their brain waves down to an alpha state, which is a meditative state. And so when you hold on to a piece of lepidolite, that's what happens is your brain starts in training with the lepidolite, okay, and starts calming down to a meditative state. Okay, so that's what's really good about lepidolite. You can wear that all day long. It's purple, it's really pretty, it has little flecks in it. I'm sure you've seen it before. If you haven't, you should get some, because lepidolite is excellent for, and empaths suffer from anxiety most terribly. So get yourself the biggest piece you could afford and keep it with you. Okay. I mean, like inch and a half is really good to have, keep with you, tuck it in your bra, put it in your pocket, hold on to it. I don't know, whatever you want to do with it, but keep it with you because that really does help keep your peace. Okay. The last one I want to talk about is chevron amethyst. Now, now amethyst is very protective anyway. It's really good for psychic attack. And so I include chevron amethyst here because it's really good for energy vampires. Okay. And being an empath, it's really easy to get sucked dry, especially when you're out in public or you go to the grocery store and the guy behind you or the woman behind you or even the kids behind you start talking to you and they just bleh, they just implode on you. Um, so they don't really they just keep talking and talking and talking, and so you and then they suck you dry and want your they want you to talk to them, they want your advice and all this other stuff, and sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you just have to um say and chevron amethyst. I used to when we used to do shows, I used to wear a necklace of all chevron amethyst right across my chest here, and by the end of the day I'd be like blah 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 because people would just come and pick my brains all day long, but at least I didn't feel as drained as if I didn't wear it, because if I didn't wear it I'd be incredibly grumpy and very agitated and probably want to be mean to the next person that came to my booth, and I didn't want to do that. So, it's very easy to fall into that. So that's why it's really important to have some of these crystals. Okay. So that's my lesson, but no, I have a few other things I do want to say, but that's about it on the crystals. Now, if you have any questions, please let me know. But what I do want to say, I want to say something about using crystals for healing. Now, I know I mentioned before in some of my other classes that they're not magic rocks and they're not going to do it for you. Okay, so what you have to do is you've got to be on the right path. Okay, you have to be going in the right direction for them to help you get you there a little further. That's what they're going to do for you, is they're going to get you there more quickly. All right, but the only way to do that is you have to work with them. So they're helpers and assistants. They're going to raise your vibration to levels that are necessary for healing on all levels of your traumas, but they can't remove the traumas. They can't remove the hurt. They can't remove the betrayal. They can't remove the anger. Only you can do this. Okay, now they will help you, especially like if you understand some of the qualities of the crystals that I just talked to you about, like obsidian, if you're ready for it, it'll show you what you need to get rid of right away. Okay, it'll just, how does it bring it up? Well, let's see, there's a few different ways. Glad you asked. So one time, sometimes it'll just bring to your conscious mind, it'll give you a memory that you hadn't thought of in years. That's been happening to me a lot lately, as I've been bringing my mind, or my ego has been bringing up a lot of memories for me that I need to work on and purge. Another way they'll do that is they'll bring people across your path that will trigger you. Okay, and that's hard to deal with because then you want to lash out at that person, but it's not them. They were just, I guess, for lack of a better word, puppet in the pawn of the universe, or they were a pawn in the scheme of the universe, because they were just in the right place at the right time to get your goat, and that's what happens. And then sometimes we get messages, or we get, like if we go for reading and the reader will say something that's totally not like what we went there to hear, but we need to hear it anyway. Okay, so that's another way that they do that. Okay, so Sometimes, now, the crystals are here to help encourage you, but many issues run so deep, and many times they cannot be worked on through by yourself. Okay, it's too intense. So you need to be able to have somebody to help you through it, especially on the memories that you're afraid to go to. All right. Now, just keep in mind, all right, when you work on these memories, you bring up the memory, but you're not reliving it because that was the past. Okay. And that stays in the past because that's not occurring. What's occurring is all the feelings and all of the circumstances that you remember. Okay, but you're not there. You're not being abused. You're not. It's not happening in real life, in real time. Okay, it's only happening in your memory. And so to keep that in mind, it makes it a little easier to go through the traumatic memories because you're not really reliving them. You're just remembering what it was like to go through them. And when you can do that and you can get somebody to help you facilitate through that, all right, then those memories just become they become memories that aren't going to stimulate you emotionally. Like they're there, you'll remember them, you'll know it happened, but you'll go, well, it just happened. And it doesn't stir up the trauma and the emotions and the craziness that you think that you went through, okay, back when it was happening. All right. So I just want to let you know that it takes a lot of courage to do this stuff. It really does. It takes a lot of courage. All right. So what happens sometimes is the hurt or trauma is so intense, and the mind may not let you go there, only to protect you from reliving it. But you're not really, like I just said, you're not really reliving it. Okay. What happens is this protection is inappropriate because it prevents you from moving forward. Okay, it sometimes takes hard work and perseverance and help from a qualified facilitator. Okay, so what I want to do is, hold on one moment. Okay, so I'm interested in creating a group for empaths, like a small, a short 45-minute session, maybe once or twice a month, that we can come together and talk about things. And then I am a trained EFT practitioner, and I also am trained in several other modalities. And what I want to say about that is that if you enjoy the group class, if I'm able to do that, and you would like to work further and work through some of these traumas, I would be glad to facilitate for you. And that's something we can talk about at another time. But this is a meme that I saw earlier, and it has to do with narcissists. It says, stop trying to rescue people, let's see, who are in love with their crazy programs. They're loving their stagnation. They love their unhealthy cycles. You are not going to change that. Stop trying to rescue people, period. Focus on yourself and surround yourself with those who love growth too. Okay, so that's all I've got to say. Next week, I'm going to be giving a class on the chakras. I'm going to talk about the 7 basic ones, and I have a lot of show and tell. You know me, if I can, I'll do it. So I'll be glad to show you some of my collection. And I'm also a chakra balancing, a certified crystal healer. So I have a lot of stones in my office that facilitate chakra balancing. So I'm going to turn you guys on to some of those. So thank you so much for listening. This is Karen Squillante again with Nature's Alchemy. And I invite you next week to come into Nature's Alchemy, where we explore natural healing with crystals, plants, and herbalism, essential oils, and the many ways that Mother Earth provides for our healing and well-being. And you folks all have a wonderful week.